Then we're going to set knee circles and roll. Changing directions. Back to the middle, forward, open, and back. Done. Thanks, Kate. Back to the middle, back, around, and forward. Good. Shake that out. Okay, everyone feeling okay so far? Sweet. See what we're doing. Okay, quick sip of water, then we'll continue, okay? There's no water. All right. We're going to try something a little new today. Timer up. Okay. With your feet a bit wider than shoulder width, your body rock forward and back. Find your center. Let your feet sink. Let your weight drop heavy from your head, neck to your shoulders. Shoulders to chest and back. To your belly. Stomach and hips. Thighs into your lower legs, and then filling your feet.
Oh, shit.
What? What's wrong? Okay. From here, grab the ground with your feet, engaging slightly. Let that engagement come up your lower legs, drawing the belly, knitting those clavicles, and see as I draw the belly, I sit in that back seat, right? I'm not leaning forward. I just let myself settle down ever so slightly as that belly pulls in. So as a foot grab, drawing back, drawing front, and then lifting up. From here, the arms are going to raise on the inhalation. When they get to about 45 degrees, they're going to begin to rotate. Finishing that raise, palm up. Notice how my arms aren't in line with my torso. They're curved in, following that natural bowing of the back created by the concavity of my clavicles. The hand position, once again, is here, just like in the park on Saturday. As you can see in 3 dimensions, stretching out through the fingertips. The thumb is cocked in slightly. There's a bit of a pond right there at Lao Gong. The arms are relaxed and bent, but the palms are pressing directly into the ceiling. And from here, feel your belly, feel your low back. As the low back opens, the hands turn, rolling. And once they get to chest height, pressing and splaying. And as they press and splay, I feel the muscles in the back arc to open as the hands open. So now we're sinking into the ground as we press to the ground and the hands open up. Good. Again, from the belly, rotating. Legs raise as the arms raise a little, and the legs settle as the arms press up. Good. Legs raise as the arms begin their turn. Legs press into the ground as the arms press down. So we're trying to study here is a difference in sensation between pressing down and pressing up. Belly rolls, legs raise, arms pivot. Legs press, arms press up. Good. And again. Roll to serve. Roll to press. On the side view, see my back is still straight, not curved in, sinking. As I raise, the back opens. As I press, the back stretches. As I draw in, the back opens. As I press, pressing from the back stretches. Try to feel the movement in my back that supports these arms as they change position. Good. If you have 5-pound weights at home, this is a really nice exercise to play with a little bit of resistance in the hands. You just hold the weights and reach. Hold the weights and press. Do a few more moments of this. Awesome, Karen, just like that, yeah. So as you roll in, feel how that roll through the middle influences the back. Try to feel the sensation in both the back and the front as you raise up. Drawing in, feel that transition through the torso. Stretching down and press. Good. Rolling to lift. Very nice, Caro. Rolling to press. Lifting for the transition. Pressing into the ground as you stabilize for your root palm. Lifting in transition. Stabilizing as you press. Good, a couple more at your own pace. Good, Chris. Let it draw and out. Draw and press. Try to keep space in the inside of your shoulders, space in your armpit the whole time. See, as I draw up, space in my shoulders, space in the armpit, I reach out. Draw in, shoulders still concave slightly, space in the armpits, pressing down. So I'm not drawing here and reaching, drawing here and pressing. I'm rolling around that openness I'm trying to preserve in my shoulder joints. It's exhausting. Good, Caro. There you go, Margot. As you lift up, the hands can morph a little bit. So you see how the fingers can reach and then stretch into that final position. There you go. The fingers can curl a little and then stretch into that final position. Just like the back raises, the hands can relax for a second with that breath, and then everything stretches back into form. The hands can relax a little bit, and then everything stretches back into form. Good. As I sink down, I feel my spine stretching to the ground as I press. As I draw up and reach out, I feel that weight in my palms pushing through my back into my heels as I bridge between high and low. Remember to do 2 more of these. Good. And for our last little bit, as we draw up, reach out, keep that concavity in your shoulders, and the palms oscillate a little bit up and down, and try to feel the structures in your back that engage as the hands raise and sink. And then from there, hold. Maintain that feeling in your back. The back feels overwhelming. Try to carry that back stretch through the ribs into the belly. If the shoulders feel tired, stretch them. Try to create space in that joint. As you stretch out, the shoulders won't be able to support as much. You have to find other musculature you can use to support that weight. 30 more seconds if we can. Maintain that openness in the shoulders. And relax. can shake it out for a second. Did anyone feel movement to their back and belly with that?
I did, but you're saying it's the movements from here?
Movement is through the back. I'm keeping space through here. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So these are the first 2 palms of the BaGua Dingshi Batsang, the fixed 8 palm set. They deal with pressing down and pressing up, pretty basic directionality. There's a very different feeling in how you support that from your torso. And so playing this transition kind of get you into the feeling of how pushing down is a different kind of sensation, engages different muscle groups than the pressing up. You all feel a difference between the down and the up? Yeah? Awesome. Any questions?
More just I need to work on it, because as you were saying, like, what my focus was more on different band muscles, and from like you're saying, like for pushing up, there's an intent from the dantian, but the expression inward to outward goes through the yao and the obliques.
Right, exactly. And so from here, there's pressure on my arm. I'm not going to feel it mostly in my shoulders. I'm going to feel it to my back, which I'm using to create that structure. Right. The goal here is to kind of omit the shoulder as much as possible and bring in all that surrounding tissue. And so the next class is a little bit with forward and back and inside and outside, pressing in and pressing out. Those are the 4 basic directions in the first 4 of the mother palms. And then once you get those down, we can add that to our circle walking, and you'll all have half of the first form. And so it's a nice, easy way to play with the root shape and then add it to the step that you already have and kind of build the picture from that perspective. Sound good?
Yep.
Let's do some work with Tiger. So quick sip of water and we'll continue.
Can I suggest that, like, if you wouldn't mind clipping that portion of the video, like maybe right up until that point where you just changed topics,
yeah.
Because like the explanation that you gave afterwards was like, maybe is still pretty useful. But I think like if you were to put that up as like, I mean, basically people can just do it as a meditation, even if they don't necessarily even want to learn the rest of it.
Totally. And it's very similar to the 3 essential Qigongs. There's a lot of this that you see all over. And the BaGua basic set, this is actually the only form attributed to BaGua's founder. He wanted to create a form that dealt with those most fundamental energies that could then carry forth into all those kinds of transitions that come later. And so these first 2 palms are kind of like the beginning code of that BaGua transition. Down, up, in, out, forward, back. How do you morph between those, and how do you create all the fancy shapes that come from that?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a question. So I'm pretty ignorant about this all, and I recently learned that each martial art has its qigong. No.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, have any of the things we've done been BaGua qigong?
So everything is qigong.
Okay.
It's qigong at different speeds. There are qigong sets for the sake of cultivation, for the organs, for the bone marrow, all of that good stuff, and those are their own separate entity. And I know a bit of that, though it's not my predominant focus in this. I'd be happy to share some of that with you over time. But if you're doing the Gong Fu correctly, it should be equal parts martial, meditative, and just kind of self-building. And so as you play through, you can do a combative form from a Qigong standpoint, where everything is stretching tendons and working with that breath integration and drawing through, but also stretch the tendons and breath integration and drawing through have a strong martial application as well, right? And so it all kind of circles around the exact same point. And so if your Gong Fu is really good, it should incorporate all of those ideas in everything that you play with.
I do appreciate like the ultra like microscopic dissection of that transition between 1 and 2 palms, and how like, BaGua like is so multi-layered, like endlessly layered with its minutia. Right.
And the lens that you approach it from changes how you look, changes how you digest the information, and every lens is okay. In Beijing, it's maybe 1 out of 15, 20 people in a family is a fighter, right? It's incredibly uncommon. Most everyone is there for the social club, and that's rad. They get a lot of community from it. There are some who had strong health issues as kids, and they keep on doing Gong Fu the rest of their lives, so those health issues don't come back. And that's another strong motivator. Actually, a lot of the masters had health problems as children because Kung Fu is so challenging that most don't stick with it unless there's a personal reason for doing it. And not being sick is a pretty good personal reason for doing it. And so a lot of people have that as their backbone. And if you're doing that, then of course, everything is more of that chi component, that more of that circulation component, and that's relevant and important, right? But that's just one way of looking at that same material. I'm a fighter. I view everything through the lens of a fighter, but I don't ask all of you to do that because I recognize that's not, where other people might be coming from who want to enjoy this stuff too. And so if you understand the movement, your own personal take becomes how you embody it. And in the end, you'll look a lot different than me because your motivation is different than mine. And that's beautiful. That's how it should be. Everyone should bring themselves to this stuff. There's no one form of correct. There's just, personal expression. Yeah. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Very nice, Carol. And weights. Carol did some weights. Karen did some weights too. Weights are the only shortcut that I've ever found effective in internal Kung Fu. And not, powerlifting, though, if you like that, go for it. But more long duration holds with weight on the hands helps your body fatigue more rapidly. So 2 minutes of weights is like 10 minutes of no weights. And so
we're aiming for the weight of like a really small kitten.
Right, a very small kitten. Or as Zhang Xuan would say, dig a hole in the ground, fill it with concrete, and then jam a stick in the middle, wrap that kind of donut in towels, and then make that your wrist bracers. Which I never did. But that's always, I used ankle weights. But at my max, I was up to 7 pounds per arm. And I could do a 20-minute form with those. But that took about 8 months of work to get to that point. Of just make that as my sole focus and practice. And it escalated my Kung Fu, made me better faster. But it was very, very hard.
And that was without a shoulder injury at that point?
That's when I was younger and I cared less about it. The things I could do at 30 that are now a bit harder at 38. So this is important with Tiger. So for Tiger, we have the chest circle and we have the leg circles. And let's start with the chest circle, then we'll bring in the legs, okay? And so we have is a round, and see how there's a 3-dimensionality to it, right? And that as I draw it into my belly, the hands come in. As I go up, there's a little bit of a reach. But by and large, it's a vertical circle with a little bit of an angle at the top and forward. Okay, so you get that side view. Here I'm drawing belly. Here I am reaching past my face. Now the rule for Tiger is if you've done it for more than 6 months to a year, you can have soft, relaxed hands. If you're brand new, you want fixed wrists because that's going to help teach your forearms how to track. Okay, and so the fixed wrist version of this is out to in, out to in. I'm just eliminating one variable by fixing the wrist joints. And now I can focus on the other, more challenging aspects of getting the arms and shoulders move appropriately. Notice how as I'm rolling, I'm just rolling opposite to the arms. Great big circle. My hips are back as my hands are forward. My hips are up as my hands come belly.
This is like agree.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you've all played this before in more challenging contexts, right? Like the shepherd boy points the way, lion rolls ball, the Tai Chi push. It's the exact same basic roll. You do it for all of that. Good. And so this is a continuous loop, right? We can do this till we pass out from hunger and exhaustion. It's never going to break into a file V naturally. If it was to break into a file V naturally, we have to find a way to jump our circle and then carry that energy to a new direction. So as I take the circle in, instead of arcing out, I can turn my hip in, and then the hip can launch out. That jolt. Everyone feel that? So again, as I'm rolling in this constant circle, I'll go really slow, and I'll do it from another angle. Instead of just taking great big arcs, I'm going to take your right-sided hip, turn it in a little as I pass that leg, and then as that hip jolts, I now have direction to reach out and follow. We're going to talk about that basic version of it, and then add in more of the nuance to figure 8 in a second. All right? From a side view, there's the roll. The forward-facing hip turns in. See the hands cross, and now as that hip recoils, I have an angle, and I follow that angle for my push. Just try it together a couple of times. We have our roll. Roll 2. And now on 3, your right-sided hip is going to turn in. And we're going to slow, bringing that hip in. It crosses. See how it recoils out. And from there, I start my push. As my back foot comes in, I stabilize that press. Okay? Again, it's a simplified version that gives us the coordination we need to start out with. So we have our roll. 2, and for 3, turning that right hip in. The hip crosses, arcs out, and we follow that arc with our press. Simply for the camera so you can see the full progression. These are still watching me. So see how as the leg begins to come forward, once my hands hit belly, they're following that leg, they're pressing. But I'm not making contact and pushing until that back foot comes in. And so I'm pushing through that entire range of motion. Let's try to get it a couple times, I'll break down just the shove. Rolling. One more time this side, I'll do the other. 1, 2, that right hip rolls in, follow that right hip up, pressing and through. Good. Let's try the other side. Find your cadence, take a moment because it will feel a little different just because it's a different direction. And 1, 2, and now on 3, your left hip turns in. My hands draw down to my hips. And as my foot steps out, my hands start to press. Continuing that press all the way through. Good, and again. Rolling to the other side. Same side we just did. 1, 2. Left hip turns in. As that left hip draws across, the hands draw to the belly. The foot extends, the hands extend as we roll through. Good. One more time that side, and we'll break down the press and put it all together. Rolling. 1, 2. Roll that left hip in. Hands come in. Leg reaches, arms start to reach, and the hands and the leg are reaching together. And I finish that press as I roll back. Good. Shake it out for a second. So I'm here with my hands in. As I reach my front foot, my hands begin to lift, pressing as my heel draws down. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. So I'm reaching, pressing, reaching, pressing, reaching, pressing. Can I borrow your Kate for a quick second? Thank you so much. Is that okay? Yeah, cool. So if I'm pushing Kate, right, and she's a strong tense and I'm trying to shove her over, I can't get very far. But if I reach with my front foot and my hands begin to come forward, I can off balance her a little bit. Now as that back foot comes in like a plunger, you see how that's what pulls her offline. It's gonna, there's that little bit of reach, back foot comes in, that crumples her. Thank you, thank you. And so we're invading space, crashing through. Invading space, crashing through. Does that breakdown make sense? Yeah, cool. 1, 2. 1, 2. Notice how my hands go forward as my back goes back, as that back foot comes in. There you go. Good.
Like when your front leg goes forward, it's like your body and your front leg and your arms are all connected. And then the back leg comes, when the back leg comes forward, then you get the extra push.
Exactly, exactly. And so this is just the fishing. This is kind of finding the range. That's the attack. So all of this is soft. All of that can change directions it needs to. Once that back foot comes in, that's the jolt. And so if we're doing a really fun, fancy push hands, kind of moving around each other, it'll be all this fishing here. Then if you got an opening, then your back foot will come in, and that's what would take me off balance.
Oh, that totally makes sense, because then you can, like, basically, you can roll your partner around a bit before you shove them.
Because big cats play with big balls, right? Rolling that ball around, trying to find that spot, and then there's the shove that comes through.
I was going to say that the footwork and the hip weighting is basically the same as the whatchamacall.
Yeah, it is like
oh yeah.
Yeah, very, very similar. And so now watching me for a second, we have our roll with our hips. Now if I add a step in with this, I can roll, right? I can take that space, fish around my partner, draw it in, find that angle, and then there's the shove, right? So the full tiger movement, there's the parry, trying to control them from the side. I change the angle as this foot comes up, and then the two-step push, okay? So it's that first coil plus a two-step push, and that's the entirety of how tiger functions. Make sense? Let's try the fixed wrists, and then I'll go over the more relaxed wrists for Chris and Kara, okay? So they're here with lead foot forward. So I'll mirror all of you. So this is your all left side. As the hands cross into that middle, I'm going to take your left foot and step it out. And so again, there's that roll. And it's not just a straight line, it's an arc. Because remember, this arc is going to draw to the stomach as it presses out. And so we step out, making space for our circle. We roll that circle to draw the leg up. Leg and hands come to the belly. Leg and hands come forward. And there's that bracing moment as we press out. Okay? Let's try that again. Stepping to the side, arc. Now watch, see, similar to the roll to kick we did earlier, as the hands roll, there's that same pull on my pelvis, the exact same sensation, right? And we're going to follow it in the exact same way. That pull in the hip pulls the leg up. The turning of the roll turns the body to the side. Step through. Very nice, very nice. Once again, try to feel that hip pull, just as we do for a more simple kick in the beginning. There's that roll pulls the hip pulls the foot. Everything draws up in time, as long as we maintain that felt connection. Step press. Good, Kara. Very good, Margot. Let's try again. Step, feel that pull in the hip, use that pull to draw that leg up. Step through. Good. Once more with me, and then a few more on your own so I can watch each more closely. Stepping to the side as we reach. Pull. Drawing the foot in. Step through. And notice how when I hit, even though I'm pushing forward pretty hard, my weight distribution is still about 70 back and about 30 front. If I'm pressing here, it might feel like I have more power, but that's just overextension, right? And that's very easy to parry and use against me. Let's see all of you give this a try a couple times. Good, again, Chris. Good, Chris. Now, Chris, for you, make sure you're watching your pause, okay? As you step out, watch those hands. Watch them as they roll up, and then looking forward as you hit. There you go. And that turn of the head next, add that little bit of spinal flexibility that you were missing. 10 times better, Chris. That's looking solid. Put that on both sides. All right, Caro. Good, Caro. Your fingertips want to stay mostly oriented up for this one. Hey, buddy. All right. So as I roll through, see how my fingers are sideways, but sideways up. They're sideways, but sideways up, pressing through. If my hands turn here or drop down there, I lose a lot of that chest feel. If the hands are raised, it's easier for me to draw the side body into my chest and into my belly. It's like I'm pulling myself up, like I'm leaning back doing a pull-up. I want to make sure all this musculature is about, I'm pulling myself up with those arms, and I want that hand alignment to help me with that. Does that make sense? Awesome.
And ideally, for the last step, you're slightly advancing more than what's comfortable in order to bring that grounding through that last final draw into the back foot.
So Tiger can leap, and Tiger can leap really far. And so we come through here, this is that coil, and then that can become that jump, okay?
Right.
So as you everything's coiled up, pop, and there's that leap towards your target.
And the tricky part is like not getting front weighted and not overextending, as you mentioned. So that's like the XingYi step, the pounce.
Right, that's the XingYi pounce. That's the idea, Chris. Very nice. And Kara is looking much better. All right, Margot. Good, Margot. Use that full circle. Draw it into your belly and then touch the belly before you launch off.
Yeah, my coil is wonky. I need to work on it.
Everyone's coil is wonky and everyone's coil needs work. Don't worry. Just watch me. Use that reach.
I can attest to that.
See that three-dimensionality to it? In that I'm drawing up. It's not just in a plane, right? It's rolling forward and back and up and down. It's covering a lot of axes. And as it rolls down and in, that's why I pull myself up to it and reach through. And so again, open, pulling yourself into that front leg, which loads you for your leap. That's great, Margot. Keep playing with that. Good. Much better. Okay, before we do our kicks, one last little correction. If you're doing fixed palms, use that fixed palm to play with every joint behind it. Elbow, shoulder, and the joints in your back, okay? If your palm is fixed, the blessing here is that you don't have to worry about all the complex movement in your hands and wrists. You can fix them out and just use that as a really stable pull. And so if you're having a hard time feeling that force transfer, lock your wrists, good, and don't mess around with your fingertips yet. If you get good force transfer consistently with locked arms, then you can melt the hands as one more area of creating acceleration, right? So once the hands can soften, now my body can soften with it, and everything becomes far more flexible and rapid, right? But I'm not in a hurry to get there until I can control all the structures back first. Does that make sense? So Tiger is always classically taught with fixed wrist first, relaxed hands after that fixed wrist lesson is well understood. Okay?
Cool.
Any questions so far? All right, let's do a little bit of kick work to finish up. We'll call it a day. Everyone have 5 more minutes? Yeah? Awesome. Because those side kicks take time. All right. So the back leg back and the front leg forward. Raising the toes of the back foot, pulling that hip in, stepping over, drilling.
I got a call I gotta take, y'all, but I'll see you later, Joey.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Take your time with that lift. Turn, pushing from the hip, pulling that hip in as we come around and back. Good. Watch me for one, okay? Lift to step, ball of the foot touches first. Now as I turn into this leg, take your time as that leg raises. Push from the belly, push from that inguinal. Stretch the leg. And then from there, raise, pull from the hip, around and back. Let's give that a try, okay? So again, foot raises, reach. Good. Drill into the other leg, take your time. Lift, turn slow. Find each little balance point as you turn. Push towards your camera. And then draw from the hip, around and back. Good. Front foot turns out, raise the toe on your back, step across, toe touches. Pull, 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 go slow. Every place you want to speed up, slow down even more. Take time, root your balance as you stretch, draw, around and back. Good. Again with me. Front foot turns out just a little. Raise those back toes. Reach. Pull that weight. Slow. Extend out, pushing from the hip. Feel a stretch through your butt. Pull in from your hip. Around and turn. Good. And a couple more while you're watching. Foot back. One. Raising that foot across. With me now. Turn. Take your time on that turn. Use that turn to raise your foot. Use that pivot to press out and stretch. Drawing in as you turn around, finishing in back. Excellent. And last thing, our wall buddy. The leg back and forward, down, up, back. Hi, Jane. Forward, down, up, back, forward, down, up, back, forward, down, up. Last one, back, forward. 5 oscillations. E, R, sun, si, wu, and back. Good. Other side. The leg comes back. The leg goes forward, down, up, back, forward, down, up, back, forward, down, up, back, forward, down, up. Last one, back, forward. 5 oscillations. E, R, sun, si, wu, and back. Shake it out. And now from here, right, if you want that spinning side kick, it's just step, pop, there's the kick. Step, pop, there's the kick. You practice it nice and slow. The range of motion's there. The control builds. And see, all of a sudden, everyone can spin around. There's issues with balance at speed so far, but you can see how much more control there is, right?